Melissa at Aromatic Chat. Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to be chatting with my friend Denise. I know her from my professional organization, the Alliance of International Aromatherapists, and she is the North American representative. So she's over all of North America and all the representatives that work with AIA. And honestly, that's like the only thing I know about her aromatic journey. So I am just as excited as you are to dig in and learn a little bit more. So help me welcome Denise. Hi.
Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you. So is that a background or is that really where you are?
That's really where I am. I know.
Can the entire world just please be jealous for a moment? Just a few moments.
It's a wonderful place. It really is.
And I mean, is this a family home or is it just a lodge that you're visiting or what?
Yeah. So we have always come up to this little town. It's 20 miles from the Canadian border. It's called Grand Marais. We brought our kids up here every single year and just kept watching and watching for a house. And in 2012, when the housing market had crashed and nothing had sold up here for 3 years, we were able to buy one. So yeah, we still have our place in St. Paul, but this is where we love spending our time.
Yeah.
It's right on Lake Superior. So it's, we've got the big waves and I love it.
Oh, it's absolutely gorgeous. I mean, just what I see is, a dream, right?
It is. Oh yeah, totally a dream home. Yeah.
You're living in a beautiful dream. Oh my gosh, the whole world can be jealous. It's okay.
I am always just so grateful anytime I'm here. And it's one of those things where it just feeds and feeds my soul.
Oh, well, that's fabulous. That's fabulous. So in the introduction to my time here with you, I told everybody I don't really know much about what you do beyond your role with AIA. So I'm very excited to dig in and learn some things and hopefully if what you're offering resonates with people, they'll find you a little bit easier as a result. That's kind of my whole reason for doing these interviews, is to make it possible for people to find aromatherapists, certified aromatherapists, registered aromatherapists, clinical aromatherapists, rather than just a salesperson. And not that salespeople don't have a good role. I mean, they do, but sometimes you need a little bit more than what a salesperson can offer. So yeah. So this is good. So tell us a little bit more about your aromatic journey and what brought you to where you are right now.
Oh, so have we actually started?
Sure. Let's dive in.
Okay.
If you want to do some more pleasantries, I'm cool with that too.
This is great. All right. So, So I started as a nurse in 1982 and was very, very based in science. And then I started really exploring integrative therapies and holistic nursing, and just became more and more convinced that the research was starting to show that there were a lot of other ways that we can help our health and healing. And so then I took a course and I became a massage therapist and used it really only in the hospital for my patients, but I loved it. And I was working in the mother-baby area at that point in time. I had switched to there and found out that there was something called infant massage. So I took a course to become certified in that and taught parents. And, it was so wonderful to watch them with their relationship. And then also it helped the babies physically, to sleep and learn how to just calm themselves, and helped with gas and, crying, all kinds of good things.
All
and so, yeah. I know. And my kids were older, but it was so funny when I took that course, I had to practice. And so they would all line up and wait for me to do their massages. And it's turned out great. They still will come up and massage my shoulders and I massage their shoulders.
There's a huge bonus when mom goes back to school, especially for a complementary modality. My husband said to me, he goes, "Why didn't I send you to school sooner?"
Right? It's so true. It's absolutely so true. And also it's good for us, right? There's so much more that we don't realize is going to happen to us as just a factor of doing that.
Yes.
Okay, so as far as aromatherapy goes, my children were young and just not really wanting to get up in the morning, and they were having a hard time eating and, getting dressed to go to school, and it was just hard. And of course, our whole family has that later biological clock. So I understood, but I just felt so so powerless really to help them. And when I went to work one day, they were having this little health fair in our lobby, and I walked up and I asked one of the women that was there, I said, so, is there anything I could do? And I explained it, and she said, well, you could take a drop of this mandarin and put it on a cotton ball in a glass dish in their room in the morning. And I thought, what? I hadn't even heard
What kind of witch doctory is that? Yeah.
I know. And so I thought, well, why not? I'll try it. I'll try anything. And so I put a drop in each of their bedrooms. I had the girls' bedroom and my son's bedroom, and then one in the bathroom, and then one in the kitchen. And honestly, within 2 weeks, they were waking up, they were happier, they would eat, and they'd get out the door on time. And I couldn't believe it. And so I thought, this is interesting stuff. Fast forward just a couple of months, my husband found out he had a birth defect and had to have open heart surgery. And as he was recovering, they had to dislocate his shoulder in order to make a smaller incision.
Sure.
And he just wasn't able to sleep because his shoulder hurt him so much. And so I went back to that same woman up to her office and I said, is there anything that can help with pain? And she said, well, sure. And so she made a little massage oil and handed it to me. And I went and I was putting it on him, and it decreased his pain because I was so curious. And then also both of us were sleeping better because his pain was less. And then his recovery went better. And I went back to her and I said, what is this woo-woo stuff in this little bottle?
Right.
And she said, well, Denise, they're essential oils, and we learn about their therapeutic properties based on their chemistry. I was like, chemistry? Now you're speaking my language. And she said, oh, you should become certified. And so we set up a certification course in my hospital. I did the whole housekeeping stuff to get it all set up. And when I was certified, I did a presentation for a brand new holistic nursing council. I did about an hour presentation. It was a PowerPoint, and, I had oils for them to smell and experience. And we talked a lot about it. And, we talked about the therapeutic properties, and it was just really fun. And after that, and I talked about current research. Because again, that's where I come from.
Yes.
And so then they asked me to step out in the hall. And they would come get me. I thought, well, this is weird. So I stepped out into the hall. And then about 3, 4, 5 minutes later, they asked me to come back in. And they said, we'd like you to set up an aromatherapy program for us. And I was a staff nurse and a parent educator. And I really had never done anything like that. But I didn't hesitate. I was like, absolutely, I will. And so I ended up probably going to every department and every committee meeting in the entire hospital to talk to people about this program, make sure everyone was on board. The Holistic Nursing Council had asked something of me. So when I went to it was called Nursing Practice Care Delivery meeting. They wanted this to be a standard in nursing practice, meaning that every nurse would be trained and every patient could be offered aromatherapy.
Wow.
And I had to make a pitch for this in 2 minutes. And so I went in and did my little elevator speech about why I thought it was valuable and that the Holistic Nursing Council was making that recommendation. And they voted unanimously yes. I was blown away. And so again, we're in an urban hospital. It's not a small hospital. So this was a huge undertaking. So I got the program up and running, and that was really fun. It was just a great, great process. And as soon as I did, we had become part of a system. And the director of our integrative health clinical service line and the aromatherapist from the larger hospital across the river came to see what I had done. Then that day, they asked if I would help to set up a program for our whole health system, starting with 10 hospitals. Wow. I know, right?
Wow.
This is just like kind of a dream coming true as it's happening. I couldn't even believe it. So fun. Then this other nurse, Mary Ellen Kinney, and I just had an amazingly wonderful time setting up this program. It went so well. Of course, we had barriers. There are barriers in the hospital program, barriers in the, in the program getting it going system-wide. But somehow we just kept understanding what everybody was asking of us and honoring their concerns, which usually was about the patients,
Right.
And sometimes the staff. And then it all worked out. So we got this program up and running for the 10 hospitals. And we set it up in a model really similar to the one that I had set up with education for the staff, for the patients. And we also set up documentation so that we could retrieve data.
Right.
Because again, if you're going to do something in healthcare, you might as well research it. And if it's in integrative health, we have to research it or people aren't going to believe us.
Right.
So we set it up that way. And after 2 years, we got in front of the research department and said, we need to do something about this data that's been collecting. And so they agreed to help us. And we published 2 articles, one in the Journal of Nursing Administration and one in Complementary Therapies in Medicine.
Wow.
And the data they were able to put through this software program that took into account if they had medication, if they had any other integrative therapy, and subtract out what that result might have done for people.
Mm-hmm.
And so it was a pretty true representation of what the essential oils did. And they did show that it decreased nausea and anxiety and pain. And the pain was decreased by 3.03 points on that 0 to 10 pain scale, which is what a lot of medications do, right? It was significant. I mean, we're talking thousands of aromatherapy sessions, and we had over 10,000 that we were able to look at the data. I know, it's so fantastic.
If I could do the little mind blown emoji right here, I totally would.
I know.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. When was this? What year, what time frame did all of this occur?
Sure. So the first program took me a year, and we started it in 2010.
Okay.
And then I started working with the system program in 2011, and we were up and running by 2012.
Wow.
And then we did 2 years of retrospective data and were able to publish. So it was in the spring 2016 that we published.
Wow. So that's still fairly recent then.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. The reason I ask is my mom was an aromatherapist back in the early 90s. She became a certified aromatherapist back in the early 90s. So, but she did mostly like massages and things like that. It wasn't very much into the, the scientific research and stuff like that. But I feel like what she was doing back then was a precursor that made it possible for where you were in 2010 to take it into the medical community.
Yeah.
Yeah, medical industry. Yes.
Yeah. And we had actually had nurses who had done research at our hospital before I was even aware that essential oils were a thing. And it went over well, but for some reason, people just weren't ready yet. And when I was doing all of these education roundtables sort of for the staff, and it was anybody could come and just listen. One of them walked up and she said, I wish you luck. We tried and I don't know. And I said, well, I hope, let's see.
Right.
And I think that they had laid all the groundwork so that people were ready. And the other thing that happened was our integrative health department, we had one in the hospital, just became, I think, less valued, and there were some budget cuts. And so that was whittled away to almost nothing. And our Holistic Nursing Council came out of a groundswell of, no, we can't not have any integrative health or complementary therapies. We need to have some of that. That's really important. So the timing was really, really beautiful. I feel so fortunate to have just been in the right time at the right place.
That's amazing. And I feel like right now, where we are right now in 2020, 10 years after you dove in right into this with integrative aromatherapy, complementary into the medical community, we're just now at a point where people are recognizing that there's more to this than the woo witch doctory stuff, right? We're finally getting to this point, and I think even the just the general community is starting to recognize that it's more than just, right? And with the documentary, the Netflix documentary Unwell, Botanica this year, all these things, and people are starting to really, really talk about the science behind it and make it more valid
Right.
than it ever has.
Right. And in most healthcare settings, it's going to take that kind of a really honest conversation about what we do know and what we don't know, and confidence that, you know, those of us that have gone the extra mile in our education, you know, so that we understand safety considerations and all of that, that they can trust us, you know, to know if there's some type of essential oil that's not going to work well with a certain medical condition or medication, right? Because that's true. And a lot of people are, you know, picking it up in a store and assuming that because it's natural, it's just fine to use. And that's kind of scary.
Yes.
And I know that, you know, we have the databases where people are starting to talk about all the adverse reactions that people are having. And of course, that's been going on for quite a few years, but we're seeing more and more of those. And so there will be a lot of conversations about safety in the future.
Yeah, and I've that's something I've thought about a lot when I hear the unsafe practices that are being promoted by sales representatives. You know, this isn't you're experimenting on the population, and they don't even have a clue because they think it's safe, it's natural, therefore I can use it as often and in any way that I think I should. And
Yeah.
that's kind of scary because we don't know what the outcome is going to be yet. Like you said, people are starting to talk about it. It's scary.
Yeah, because again, it's not the first thing you would suspect, you know, that
Because it's
it's
natural.
oil, you
Right.
know, and it can be a diffused oil, you know, that causes a rash on your body. That doesn't even really make sense to a lot of people. This information, you know, it's been growing and growing, but
Well, and science is always evolving. Science is always evolving, and it doesn't matter if it's chemistry or biology. It's always evolving. We're always learning new things. Just look at COVID. We're always learning new things. You know,
Yeah.
it doesn't just we don't just figure it out and that's the way that it is. It's
Yeah.
always changing. So you've retired from nursing.
Yes.
What are you doing now?
Well, actually, I started way back when I first got my first certification to teach classes, because that's, again, just my passion. And they started out as small classes. And then I had decided that I wanted to teach certification. And so I have a certification program that is sort of like the big thing that I do, but also a lot of other little workshops, because, you know, I want to make it really accessible and still remind people in everything that I do that there are safety considerations and amazing therapeutic properties, right? So, and then I do consultation. So I've worked with a few different, you know, hospitals and different healthcare sites, and creating some education, but also just helping them to get their programs set up as well.
Okay, so this certification course that you're running now,
Yes.
tell us a little bit more about that. Is it in person? Is it an online course? Is it like a live session online? Tell me all about it.
It started in person only. And, you know, I mean, I love that. But also, you know, it was the equivalent of 15 days. And I did it all different ways. You know, I did things where it was a long weekend. And then, you know, it didn't have to be a total 15 days because we'd go longer days. And people were really excited. They didn't get tired doing it. But it's a lot of time to commit. And so then I started doing some hybrid things. And thank goodness, because when COVID hit, we were ready.
Right.
And so through our Minneapolis College and throughout, like when I teach at my home, we have a class at the beginning, a class at the middle, and a class at the end, where it helps keep people on track. And also we get to do a lot of fun blending activities together they might not be able to do on their own if they don't have all the supplies. And so that's one of my favorite ways to teach, but also we have this great online home study. And so nurses and healthcare practitioners, which make up most of the people that take it. So I have probably 95% at any given time are healthcare practitioners, and probably over 80% are nurses that come and take the certification. And so they're really kinesthetic. And so they love to have something to write on. So it's PDFs where they can read through, they can print it, they can write on it. So they can do it on the computer, or they can have paper, whatever they prefer. Some videos on how to make the products. And then there's the Zoom meetings. So we start with the Zoom meeting, and then as often as they want, we meet and we email and we text. And, there's just all different ways that we communicate so that they're getting their information. And then they upload their assignments to me. We do case studies, and then I give them a lot of feedback. And the case studies include holistic recommendations, because that's who I am. So I want everybody always to be thinking of their client as a whole person. And so some people, they've already got that locked in, and they've got more recommendations than I would have come up with. Other people, they'll start with like one, and then by the time they've done their 10th case study, they've got a whole list of things they did recommend. And then also in their reflection, a list of things that they thought of afterwards that they would like to, either recommend to them or that they might do next time. So it's just really fun. And they write a research paper, and I help them with that. And some people actually do research, others research a topic deeply. And so it's approved by NAHA, and also endorsed by the American Holistic Nursing Association.
Okay, so is this a course for medical professionals to learn what they need to know to participate with it using aromatherapy in their protocols? Or is this a certification course for somebody who wants to just become an aromatherapist?
Either
Or. Okay.
Either. Yep. Because it is something where people are doing case studies, they need to know anatomy and physiology. And so that is a requirement. Anybody who's had it already in secondary, that is a nurse or healthcare provider, as long as they can prove that, they don't need to do that within the course. But yeah, so either. And then the thing is, any of my students that have something going on where they're either wanting to do consultations, or maybe they want to start their own program, whatever it happens to be, that's often what they ended up focusing on as far as their research. And so then it helps them, because everybody needs to do research that interests them. There's no reason to just do something to do it.
Because that's soul killing.
Yes.
Miserable to research something you're not interested in. Well, that's really exciting. And you do consultations also?
I do some personal consultations. I used to, when I first set up my business, I know one of the things that you kind of mentioned is about stumbling blocks, and that made me really think about how I started. I thought I would be doing mostly personal consultations and products, and so I set up my website, and it was all about products, and I was doing lots of personal consultations, and I loved it. I really did love it. But I loved teaching so much that I kept kind of going back to that. And then when I wanted to have my program endorsed by the American Holistic Nursing Association, they don't actually allow you to carry products on your website or endorse any specific essential oils. And so then it was making a decision, and I knew which way I was going to go. So totally shifted. My son he works with me, Josh. And so he helped me come up with a different platform, because my website didn't at all fit my new business plan. And then he's really helped me shape everything going forward. And then again, making these online modules just look so beautiful, and so not only are you getting the information, but it's in a just gorgeous format. So that was really, really nice. And now I totally forgot what you asked. What did you ask?
It was about the consultations. You do still do consultations, but it's not under your old website. Now it's more educational.
It's not even like I mention in my website that I do it, but I don't have a way other than people emailing me, to sign up and do that. And if people ask me, I am so willing. I absolutely love it, but I'm just so busy doing all of the other stuff that, you're kind of finite. You can only offer to do so much. So, so we do some, and it's really fun. And when I do that, everybody gets a product, and usually one or several holistic recommendations
Well,
in
yeah,
addition.
of course, always, right? Well, that's how
Yeah.
I ended up moving into life coaching, because I found that I loved digging and getting to the root of a problem and helping that person through all the recommendations. And oh, here's a blend also. And
Yeah.
I, you find sometimes taking a step helps you figure out which direction you want to go. If you don't take that step, you just don't even know. So
Right.
that's really cool. I love the education part. And it makes so much sense now listening to you at all of our meetings, the whole education thing. So
Yeah, I can't help it.
great. That's great. How would people find your course? How do people find your courses?
Sure. Our website is called Essential Health MN for Minnesota.
Okay.
Yep. So essentialhealthmn.com. And we also have a Facebook and an Instagram, and I have a LinkedIn account. So there's a lot of ways to find us.
Okay.
And I know that when you do your talk, you always list those on the side. So
yes, I want to make sure people can find you. So if people were going to seek you out, really, they're seeking you out mostly for the education, but people could still find you for a consult through those same.
Yep, I can do individual consultation. And we do really talk a lot about the consultation because, clinical aromatherapy is where I live and what I love. And if I can bring it to more patients and help others bring it to more patients, we're currently developing an aromatherapy program development workshop.
That was my next question.
Because it's really important that people know how to do that and how to do it right.
If there was a hospital that wanted a program, they would be able to come to that module and learn how to implement a program.
Yep.
Okay. Other healthcare providers out there, pay attention because that's the problem I think most people have is they come into a situation like this and they go, I really want to do it, but now I have to invent a wheel. You already have. Yeah. So now they can just jump on and do the same thing. Oh, that's amazing. That's really great.
Yeah.
That's really
and like I said, if it was my student, I would always help them. But I've had a lot of certified people come to me and then ask, and then we're in a time right now where healthcare is trying not to spend extra money. So there's not really a budget to bring on a consultant, and setting up a program takes a lot of time and quite a bit of knowledge of just all the little details that go into it. And so, that's where I thought if I can help people do that and it's not going to break anybody's bank.
That's amazing. See one, do one, teach one.
Yeah.
You've got that down.
Yeah.
That's fabulous. Okay. So moving on to a little bit of a personal note, the question I always ask, if you had only 3 essential oils that you could keep, everything else had to go away, what would your 3 favorites be?
Oh boy. I'm always thinking blends when I think blends, and I've got some really lovely blends that I had thought of when I've heard your other talks. But specific, okay, so my mind is always going. I mean, truly, and I love handing my classes over to my subconscious, and then I dream about them, and then I come up with great ideas. But sometimes it's going so much that the sleep isn't happening. And so cedarwood for me, the Juniperus virginiana, is just something. If I can take just a little warm bath with some cedarwood, or maybe even just put a little drop on the sheet next to me, right? 1 drop, and that'll help me. It really quiets my monkey mind and helps me sleep well. So I love that. I would say I never go anywhere without the true lavender, the angustifolia. It's a staple, and there's way too many reasons to talk about, and but I'm not going anywhere without it. And then lately, and I would say that lately of course, I just experienced a loss. And so I think that might be part of the reason why. But rose is calling out to me, it's just that heart oil. And I love mixing it with vetiver. So I know that's an extra oil, but
Vetiver,
those two together, it's like being out in your rose garden. It's just healing wonderfulness.
Yes. Vetiver is like at the top of my list. I absolutely adore vetiver, and it just brings such depth to a blend. It's amazing. Yeah. And I don't really like the scent of rose. It feels greasy to me. Like,
Yeah.
it's the only way I can describe it. But it's one of those oils that my body craves because
Yes.
it is such an amazing oil for grief and trauma and all of
Yeah.
those things.
Wonderful. I know. And those two together are just so great because then, the rose by itself is just like, boom, right there in your face. I mean,
Yes, yes.
and
I think
the
that's
vetiver is
what
too.
I'm
So
not
then
really fond of it because it's just like, it smacks you.
oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting though. I was never fond of rose either. And I studied in France and we went up to someone who distilled rose. And it really changed my whole relationship with it. And since then, it's not an everyday oil, but it's when I need it, boy, it's just right there for me. So
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. All right. So what is getting you super excited right now, personally or professionally?
I've got like four things going on that I am so incredibly jazzed about. So the first three have to do with clinical aromatherapy. I was so honored to be asked to write the chapter for the Holistic Nursing Handbook for Practice, which if you're getting certified as a holistic nurse, it's what you study from. And they have it in a lot of nursing programs that focus on holistic nursing. And the person who wrote it previously was Jane Buckle. And so when they asked me, I was just like, what? You must be kidding. And so anyway, that's right now at the publisher and it's going to be released in November.
How exciting.
I
Oh,
know. So exciting. And then the American Holistic Nursing Association has an expert panel, and we are working right now on identifying essential oils that could help with pain. So that's really exciting because, as everybody knows, everybody's talking about the opioid crisis and what we can do instead to help people with their pain. I believe people will really look to the American Holistic Nursing Association for guidelines they can trust that are evidence-based. The Gaddafasa Foundation just announced that they have an international award. I know. So again, this is to really honor somebody who's got a clinical aromatherapy program going on, and then also hopefully to help them with whatever they're going to do in the future
right.
regarding that clinical aromatherapy. And I'm part of that jury. So I help them set up the award, and I'll get to look at all these applications, and I am just over the moon excited about this. What a wonderful thing for that foundation to do. And then just to be a little part of that to, help promote clinical aromatherapies.
Well,
So awesome.
it is a wonderful thing what they're doing, but how humbling to have your name associated with it.
Oh my goodness, yes.
I mean, for
Yeah.
those who don't know, Jeff Fosse is the father of aromatherapy. I mean, this is the guy
A
who
guy.
made it possible for us to be doing what we're doing right now.
Yeah. And
So,
his family
oh,
that's now carrying on his tradition. I
that's
know.
amazing. That's
It
amazing.
is amazing. Yeah. Yeah. So that's super excited. And then the last and definitely not least is that my son just bought a farm and we're going to start distilling. We're going to learn how to distill. We went to a distillation workshop and had so much fun in Sedona. And so our goal is really to just incorporate a lot of what we learn and have fun with it. We don't have anything beyond that right now. Of course, I'm thinking classes. He's thinking actually the stuff he's going to distill,
Yes.
but for starters, we're just going to have lots of fun.
Do you have any idea what plants you're going to be focusing on the farm?
The log up here, part of what we see is these beautiful piles of leftover conifers. He's going to check into that and see what it might entail for us to just pick up some of that and use that, because already that's something that's happening. If we were to do any type of work with the plants that exist, we'd want to make sure we did it really sustainably. And we did experience that in Sedona, so that was cool. And then also there's just a lot of plants that grow really great up here. It's a short season, but things like tansy or, any of the mints, or there's just all kinds of, beautiful plants that we could start playing with and then see how it goes.
I'm excited to be on the forefront of that
Yeah.
information. I mean, because wow, that would be really. I'm already dreaming for you. And then sustainability, so important to consider
Yes.
sustainability. And I
Yes.
know the average person doesn't really consider that. They see a bottle, they pick it up, they like it, they go buy another one. But people who are really on the back end of production, they're thinking decades ahead.
Yeah.
They're not just thinking to the next distillation, they're thinking decades ahead. So
Yeah.
want to encourage anybody who's watching this, make sure that whoever you're buying from is thinking decades ahead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
And my son, that's where he excels. So his place that he's got, this is his second place that he purchased. His little place that's about 45 minutes away actually has no running water or electricity. And he knows how to live that way. And so, this place, of course, will have a little bit more because we'll need some electricity there. But yeah, that's one of his, I would say, it's just in his cells that you need to live along with the earth and respect it. And so I'm really happy that we get to do that together.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Oh,
Yeah.
thank you so much for sharing your journey and your passion. And just amazing. And what you're doing for the clinical world, providing those courses and then giving everybody else your wheel. I've already designed it. Here you go.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
So it's so generous too. It really is. It's so generous because, we could just do it and keep it to ourselves, but you're not doing that. That's amazing.
No, there's so much work out there for everybody. And the more you spread it, the more you receive in return. That's the way to do things. And I'm so grateful that you asked me to be on a podcast. This is my first podcast ever.
Oh,
so how fun. I know.
Oh,
I'm excited for your business and I love watching your podcasts. They're wonderful.
Oh, thank you. My desire is that we're going to promote certified clinical registered aromatherapists so that people can really see what aromatherapy can do.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Denise. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Melissa.
Okay.